Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen, welcome back to Sunday morning in the old cookbook show. Today we're going to do a recipe out of this little cookbook, Marvelous Meals with Minute Tapioca. It was published in 1938 by General Foods. And it uses a trope that was fairly popular in this time period where you have someone who really doesn't know what they're talking about presenting something in a very jokey way. And so this is written ostensibly by someone named Miss Dine About Town. And it starts out with, "Dear public, I'm no cook, and it's no use pretending that I am." And then it goes on to tell you that, she loves to eat meals that are prepared with minute tapioca, and these recipes are prepared by people who know what they're talking about, blah, blah, blah. And that sort of thread continues throughout the book, meant in kind of a joking way, self-deprecating way maybe. It gets a little tiresome, is what I'm going to tell you. And we're going to do a recipe called Savory Meat Loaf. And I hear you. Tapioca in meatloaf. I've never had tapioca in meatloaf. Never had tapioca in meatloaf. But I'm going to tell you, in this time period and earlier, there are a lot of cookbooks put out by the gelatin companies like Knox's and Cox and so on and so forth, where they do recipes for a cooked meatloaf. Not the Jello meatloaf meat salad that we did a few weeks ago, but a cooked meatloaf like this that uses gelatin. And the gelatin is the binder. And not only is the gelatin the binder, but the gelatin also holds flavor and moisture. So the meatloaf sticks together really well, but it also retains a lot of moisture, making it seem juicier than maybe it would be. And the binder, either the gelatin or in this case I'm thinking the tapioca, holds a lot of flavor. At least that's what I'm expecting from the tapioca. And this is something that you see today in processed or prepared foods. So if you buy frozen hamburger patties or those frozen microwave meals that are maybe Salisbury steak, often the binder is gelatin because it does those things. It makes it moist, it makes it juicy, it holds flavors, etc., etc. So I'm supposed to start off with some salt pork, but I couldn't get salt pork at the grocery store this week, so I'm just going to use bacon because it's going to do exactly the same thing. It's going to bring salt, fat, and flavor. And to that, some minced onion, and we're just going to cook this until the onion is starting to turn brown. Now, while we're waiting for the bacon and onion to cook, might as well get the rest of the ingredients going. So I've got 2 pounds of ground beef. It says minute tapioca, a half a cup of minute tapioca, and salt and pepper. Those salt and pepper are the only savory ingredients. There's no other spicing herbs, anything like that. Now the recipe tells you to use canned tomatoes. So these are our own canned tomatoes from our own garden. And when we can them, I often stew them with other things, onions and celery. So there's a bit more flavor in these canned tomatoes than just canned tomatoes. And I'm sure that if you were buying canned tomatoes at the grocery store, you could get the ones with a little bit of extra flavoring in them. Makes a nice twist. So the tomatoes are going to bring a lot of flavor, but they're also going to bring all of the liquid that the tapioca is going to need. I don't know if tapioca is activated with fat. It might be. So these are just about ready to go. So in goes the onion and pork. I'll get all that scraped in. And then we just need to mix it. So in with your hands and give it a mix. And once it's all mixed up, it goes into this loaf pan. And I got to tell you, this is the loosest meatloaf mix I have ever come across. If I was doing this without the tapioca, I'd be a little bit worried that it wouldn't come together, that it wouldn't hold its shape. But the tapioca is, I'm sure, going to work miracles. So in it goes. This now goes into a preheated 450 degree oven for 15 minutes, and then we turn the heat down to 350 and cook it until it is done. Hey, Jules.
Hey, Glenn. Hey, friends.
So I'm not going to get the meatloaf out of the pan.
No, is it stuck in the pan?
Well, no, it's not
Or is it
stuck. It's loose. It's very loose.
It's kind of lumpy. Did
Yeah.
it go in lumpy or
Well-
did it settle lumpy?
I think it's settled lumpy, mostly because
I think it's just the first piece that's going to be awful.
the first piece is
Like a
awful.
pie.
Yep. Okay, so I got the first piece out. Some forks out.
fork.
It was a really loose, wet mixture, and I patted it down, thinking, I got to get it packed in there so that it. But it didn't.
Smells like meatloaf.
But I think if it cooled more, it would come to definitely come together.
Probably if you had it nice and cold for a meatloaf sandwich, it'll be fine.
Yes.
Yeah. Tastes like meatloaf.
It's really
I like-
juicy.
Versus like a some people who's meatloaf that's very
Dry.
dry.
This is a very juicy meatloaf.
I like the celery in it.
There is no celery in it. That's celery from our own stewed tomatoes.
Oh, I like the flavor of our stewed tomatoes in
Yes.
it.
So I think our stewed tomatoes, or any stewed tomatoes, would bring a lot of flavor to it. But it's really moist.
So as much as you were concerned about, I'm going to lose half of it. There we go.
I mean,
As much as you were concerned about it not coming out, it actually makes it a pleasant experience.
a better meatloaf, a much better meatloaf. There's a lot of flavor in there, even though there really wasn't anything that went into it beyond the stewed tomatoes, salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper.
Yeah. I was a little weirded out by the idea of putting tapioca in a meatloaf.
Oh, and there's tapioca.
There's tapioca.
Oh, and there's tapioca. Oh, yeah, there's just salt and pepper and a little tomato. Oh, yeah, and the tapioca.
And the tapioca.
Yeah, yeah.
I was a little bit,
So that would explain a certain texture that's in there.
yeah.
But, I like tapioca. It's all good. I mean, clearly you use small tapioca, not like bubble
The-
tea
no,
size.
there's no,
Tapioca.
it's not bubble tea meatloaf. It's minute tapioca. I think that's really good. I think then if you take this base method of that proportion of minute tapioca, liquid, and meat, and then flavor it with whatever your family
Mushrooms.
uses. Yeah, whatever your family uses for your home meatloaf. I think that would bring a new flavor and texture experience that I really like.
There
And
you
that's going to make a great meatloaf sandwich later this week.
Yes, it will.
Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.